Central Issues is made possible by contributions from viewers like you.
Welcome to Central Issues. I'm Dave Delachaise. Well, it's that time of year again. The hustle and bustle of the holidays is upon us. Thoughts of holiday meals with family members fill us with joy. And tonight on the program, we're talking with two local agencies that help supply food to local charities. Beth Slater, Director of Member Services at the Food Bank of Central New York, and Michelle Jordan, Executive Director of the Interreligious Food Consortium of Central New York. That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. It is.
Let's, before we get into some specifics, talk about what it is exactly that each of your organizations do for the community. Why don't we start with you?
The Interreligious Food Consortium is a long name, so I'm going to abbreviate it. We call it the IFC. It has been around for 26 years, and we're the grassroots piece in Onondaga County. Our main concern are the pantry people. Many of them have been working are volunteering at a food pantry for 20 to 30 years, and the people that use the pantry. So the two things we do is we collect donated food. There's many people in the community who want to do something so they can collect food for us, make a monetary donation, or volunteer to help us or the food pantries. And the other piece is making referrals. We like to collaborate with other agencies within the community. So if anybody is in need of an emergency food program, we're able to help them, a social worker, a nurse, anybody, so they can call us during the day. So that's basically what we do. And it's this time of year is very busy. People think about helping others, and we really appreciate that. We have a great donor base, and people are very giving in Central New York. I've always said that. But we also want people to remember that after the holidays, there still will be a need, and to remember to continue to give, no matter how small. When it's added to other gifts and donations, it does make a difference in our community.
Okay. Beth, Central New York Food Bank.
Well, our mission is to eliminate hunger through nutritious food distribution, education, and advocacy in cooperation with the community. And the food bank covers 11 counties throughout Central and Northern New York. And our core mission is really providing food. Annually, we provide over 11 million pounds of food, which equates to about 8.5 million meals, to a network of 277 food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters, as well as an additional 200 programs that are like child care agencies, senior centers, and things like that. In addition to providing food, we also have a great network of support for our pantries and soup kitchens, whether we're partnering them and doing training. We provide grant support to them, as well as we offer a lot of services to the community. We have several programs aimed at feeding children. We're a summer food sponsor. We offer a daily kids cafe program. And we do things like food stamp outreach, as well as our Food Sense program, which is a food buying club. So we have a lot of different programs that are targeted at hungry people in our 11 counties, really trying to help them through this difficult time in their lives and make sure that nobody's going hungry in our service area.
Speaking of people going hungry, let's talk about a little bit statistically here with the hunger issue. We were talking before the show started that 1 in 8 Americans is food insecure. Now, Michelle, would you talk a little bit to that?
For us, it's people. We find that there's a stereotype sometimes of who uses a food pantry, and ours is to raise awareness of hunger and to try to give examples of who would be food insecure. And many times it's those people who are working part-time jobs, 2 or 3 part-time jobs, may not have health insurance, that are struggling to make ends meet. They may not be eligible for food stamps. They may not want to be part of a government program, but need that help at the end of the month. What we're finding is many times people, by the time they pay their rent, maybe do some grocery shopping, gas prices are out of sight. It keeps going up, even for me when I go. So many times it's hard for people to make it at the end of the month after paying those items that they have to do. So it is a concern for us, and we just want to make the people in our community, especially in Onondaga County, aware that this is an issue.
Now, Beth, she had mentioned gas prices just a moment ago. Is the increase in gas prices, which obviously affects everybody, how does it start to affect organizations like you guys, who are there trying to help other people affected by this? It must take some kind of toll on transportation costs and other costs that you guys take in.
Well, yeah, I mean it does, because we, as I said, we serve 11 counties. So we have a fleet of tractor trailers and vans who are on the road every single day. So it certainly is a concern when something like that goes up, because it's a huge impact on our operating costs, because we are one of 5 food banks across the country that deliver door to door to our programs at no cost. So that's why we're able to rely, fortunately, on members of the community who also recognize the increased need of hunger, as well as the increased impact that our organization needs to be able to continue to ensure that everyone in our area has enough food. So they're able to step up their support of us as a way to ensure that we can compensate with those increased costs.
Now, Michelle, do you think that the current economic downturn that we've witnessed and we sort of continue to be in right now, how much of a change has that made, or an increase, I should say, has that made in what you guys see?
I think the changes we see is more in the suburban and rural areas where people may not have gone to a food pantry or applied for a government program, that now they're considering it and thinking about it. So I think there are people who may have never had to ask for help, may not have wanted to ask for help, and I see them now turning maybe to a food pantry, or or applying for food stamps or some type of medical insurance. So that's the area that I see. I also want to mention too that many of the food pantries are held in churches, and no matter what faith, it's that mission of serving the poor, and I have great respect for them. I mean, in terms of that giving. So even if their prices go up, they still do it. They do what they can to serve those in their community. And some of the food pantries may not have the resources, but are really serving a need. And that's where I think both of us kind of work together to help them, because the need is great in their community.
Beth, do you think that it's hard for people to admit, you know what, I need help, I need to go to the food bank, I need to go to my pantry? Is it hard to overcome that initial admission that I need help?
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of times people misunderstand how prevalent the problem really is in our society. The last study found that there's 50.2 Americans struggling with food insecurity. And a lot of times it's hard to imagine yourself, to picture you in those shoes, when we really live in the richest country in the world. And how do you walk up to a complete stranger and say, can you help me? I can't feed my kids. I mean, that has to be one of the hardest statements that you have to say. But as Michelle was saying, I mean, we work with such a wonderful network of volunteers. This is really the only social problem in our country that is almost entirely volunteer run. So that's why they're there, and they want to help you, and you should never be ashamed in reaching out and asking for help. And we work very hard with our pantries and the soup kitchens and shelters, and they work very, very hard too, to ensure that there's a welcoming environment that's free of judgment, and they will be able to help you. That not only is the door not going to get slammed in your face, whether it's saying that you're not welcome, but they're also not going to have nothing to give you. So people should, while it may be hard to take that step, we really encourage you to do so if that's something that you need, because that's why they're there and they want to help.
Speaking of those volunteers, Michelle, do you find that it's difficult or maybe quite easy to keep up the number of volunteers that you need to run such an organization?
It's becoming harder, I think, now. The volunteers are older. You have many of the people are working. I reflect for myself, and I got into this. I was home with my kids and wanted to do something, and people wanted to make a difference in their community, and were able to do it on one income. You can't do that. I mean, now you can't do that. So you have, both people, 2 or 3 people in the household working. So to find the volunteer time to help at a pantry, it's hard. So we do see a decrease, or the times that the pantries are open may not meet the times that the volunteers are able to help. So, but we do, I think we have a great collaborative network within the social agencies. So if I receive a call and for some reason it doesn't meet when we're open, we can refer them to a soup kitchen that may be open every day, or another pantry that may be open on a Saturday or a Monday evening. So we try to work it out. But I think volunteering, it's becoming an issue, especially with the food pantries.
Beth, what do you suggest to try and overcome that that issue and get more people involved and stay involved?
Well, I think it's a great thing that you can do with your families. I mean, a lot of times parents want to teach kids how to give back. A food pantry is a wonderful way to get kids involved because they can be kind of younger, and there's still things that they can do even when you have small children with you. And there's also times that people need help in the off hours. So you might be a pantry that's open on Tuesday mornings from 9 to 11, but that place still needs to be clean. They need to be restocked, and those things can be done at night or on Saturdays and things like that. So I think volunteering it would be great as a family activity, as well as just reaching out and people realizing that all ages can be helped at this time. There's so many different tasks that go into providing food. There's a lot more to it, and there's always going to be a role for anyone who's interested. And I really encourage you to try it because we get to work with the volunteers every day, and I promise you that they're a lot of fun. And you will probably won't be able to stop yourself from going back because you're going to have a great time and you're going to feel good too.
So people should know that there isn't any kind of restriction in terms of who can volunteer. It's pretty much open to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on the individual program, but certainly you can contact either one of our agencies if you're interested, or just walk down to your local pantry if you know where it is. But I think most of the time they're going to be more than willing, and they definitely need the help. So pretty much anyone's going to be able to make some room for you if you're willing.
All right. Well, we have to take a short break, but we want to remind you to visit our blog, www.centralissues.org, and answer the question of the day, which is, how has a food pantry helped you or someone you know this year? We'll be right back.
Reaching out to the community and asking for money is hard for all of us, and particularly in these tough economic times, where are you going to spend limited dollars? But I can't think of a better place for people to put their money in a place that's going to give them information in an unbiased, fair way, but really goes in depth. And I think what WCNY does, not just for the city, but for the region, it brings everybody together.
Help WCNY reach 20,000 members in 2010.
Make your plans for New Year's Eve now and join WCNY for The Party at the On Center in Syracuse. Tickets are available now at WCNY.org. Awarded for excellence in broadcasting, WCNY. Best Public Affairs Program, Best Documentary. Striving to connect with our community. Your support makes award-winning programming possible. Thank you. Connect with WCNY on your favorite social networking sites. Visit WCNY.org to see them all.
Welcome back to Central Issues. I'm Dave Delachase. On tonight's program, we're talking with Beth Slater, of the Food Bank, and Michelle Jordan of the Interreligious Food Consortium. Both agencies help supply food to food pantries. Welcome, both of you. Welcome back from break, I should say, as well. Now, Beth, we were talking just a few moments ago during the break about how this hunger issue, which is very real, does not, have anyone in particular in its crosshairs. It pretty much affects everybody across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times people have a stereotype of someone who's hungry, but a lot of times people don't realize the biggest group of who we're serving, 37% of all recipients, are children under the age of 18. And then also you have people who do have an income. We do have people who are working and receiving some type of income. They're just not receiving enough income to meet all of their expenses. So a lot of times people are underestimating once again, how big the problem is, but actually who are the types of people who are receiving help is affecting not only just cities, but urban areas, rural areas, suburban. It's really, there's no portion of the country that's really immune to this problem anymore, unfortunately.
And Michelle, we were talking also during the break about how there's been, unfortunately, a lot of food drives that used to take place that helped both your organizations out that have kind of dropped away. And the reasons for that, I'm sure there's a myriad of reasons. Most recently we heard about the Postal Service no longer doing their food collection. Right. How does that then trickle down to affect you guys and what you're trying to do?
I think with the food drives, for us, it raises awareness of hunger, and that's one thing we've always stressed, is that if you want to do, you want to make a difference, your school can do a food drive, the place where you can work can do a food drive. It just helped to supplement the pantries in their shelves. I mean, and people wanting to make a difference and doing something, a food drive is great. The postal drive was big, it was county-wide. There were issues because it was just Onondaga County who did it, and one of the sponsors dropped out, and it just became harder and harder. So that does put, it kind of limits the pantries themselves in terms of receiving, food that they didn't have to purchase, or it was just like an added bonus for their shelves, which is now is not. Our agency, all the food that we get, we do donate to the food pantries. We also, during the holiday season, we help with a few of the social agencies, and we put holiday bags together. And I'm not thinking anything big. I'm thinking a small meal, maybe small ham, boxes of potatoes, that kind of thing. But you'd be surprised the number of families who really benefit from that too. So I think with a food drive, it's something, and it has best said, a family could do, you can do in your office, and it just makes a difference. It helps the food pantries in keeping their shelves stocked.
Beth, a little while ago we were talking about the economic downturn creating an increase in need for people. How has that increase in people coming to you guys increased what you need? Obviously, that takes more food off of your shelves that you're providing to them. Where has it left you in terms of the pantry shelves?
Well, one of our primary responsibilities is really making sure that the pantry shelves are always full, that no one ever is getting turned away due to a lack of food in any of our 11 counties. Certainly there was an increased need back a few years ago when the economic downturn first started. We saw about an 8% increase across the board. We've been very fortunate here in Central New York in the last couple of years that increased need has really essentially leveled off and has averaged to be about 1 to 2% each year coming from that. So I think what's really important is just every little bit helps. Food drives, again, were very helpful for food pantries because it's easy for someone to do, and also it's very easy. You can see that can of food that you just donated is going to make a great difference in somebody's life, but at the same time, you can still help by directly donating the food, as well as also sending financial donations to pantries. That really makes a huge difference, and a lot of times what people don't realize with their financial donation, they can really get a lot more bang for their buck making a financial investment in a pantry. So there's still certainly different ways you can still donate, even though national efforts like the Postal Drive has since been canceled.
Michelle, looking at the bigger picture of this hunger issue, long term, what are the ways that society can go about trying to fight this without this, the constant battle?
There is a grassroots effort in our community, and we even started with, for example, community gardening, fresh fruits and vegetables. Nutrition, I think, is a big piece with the food pantries too. It's nice with the canned goods, but sometimes it's hard for those in areas of the city where there's not a big grocery store, it's the corner store, and there's not the fresh fruits and vegetables there. So it's sustainability, and that's one of the things that we've done the past couple of summers. It's called Matthew's 25 Farm. They grow fresh vegetables, and they want that distributed to pantries and reach areas of our community that fresh vegetables are not available. So I think that's, like I said, community gardening, just keeping that hunger awareness, all year round, 12 months a year, because it is an issue. And it's children, somebody threw out 42% of the children in the city of Syracuse live below the poverty level. And I just find that, because I live in the city, it's kind of heart-wrenching, because it's the nutrition piece. Because if a child doesn't eat or doesn't eat well, they don't do well in school. They're tired, illness. If a family doesn't eat well or eat nutritionally, illness, maybe missing days of work, so I guess that's long term. That's what I would hope that we could strive
Strive for it.
Yeah.
Beth, you know, where is the line in terms of how do you balance keeping people, you know, fed with nutrition and just fed? Because obviously we live in a country where we hear all the time, you know, nutrition is down, obesity, you know, levels rising. How do you balance, you know, feeding the poor and those in need while also giving them the nutritious values that they need?
It's a really interesting challenge because a lot of times we do have a huge obesity problem in this country, and what people don't realize is that there is linkage between low-income families and obesity, and people sometimes don't understand that. How can you be hungry and be overweight at the same time? It's actually very easy, because what it is when you only have so much money to spend on food, you're going to tend to buy things that make you feel full, and you're also going to buy things that are cheaper. So if you only have $5 to spend for lunch today, are you going to go to the McDonald's dollar menu and really be able to feel full for the rest of the day? Or are you going to go buy some fresh produce, which really isn't going to get you as far? So there's a couple different things that we do. At the federal level, it's really important, things like food stamp benefits. A lot of times people don't realize that the average food stamp benefit is only about $1.40 per person per meal per day. So if we were able to actually be able to get food stamp benefits to reflect the cost of food today, people might have a better chance in being able to purchase more nutritious foods and feed themselves healthier. At the food bank level, it's a little bit different. One thing that we've been able to do is really reconcentrate our resources into healthier foods. We were the very first food bank in the country to implement a donation policy where we no longer accept foods of zero nutritional value. And it wasn't a judgment call. It's not to say that we don't want to accept donations of soda and candy because we don't think people should eat those things. Mm-hmm. But we feel that those types of products are affordable, and they're accessible, and they're achievable. So what we concentrate our resources on are working with local farmers and getting fresh produce, getting healthier, leaner proteins into the pantries, as well as not only giving them the foods that they need, but giving them the tools to know what they need to do with it. We are very fortunate to have 4 registered dietitians on our staff. And they do a really great job in not only providing recipes, but also teaching people how to use these healthier foods. So we can do things like food demonstrations where we'll go and cook a recipe at a pantry while somebody's open. We distribute a cookbook that people can take home with them, but things like you can make switch ground beef for ground turkey. You know, frozen vegetables are just as good and just as nutritious, as well as teaching people how to use, you know, if you got kiwi or a cantaloupe from your pantry, some people might not know what to do with that. So we try to give them the tools as well as the resources that they need to eat healthier when they have such limited choices.
Michelle, do you think steps like this can help bridge that gap of this food divide between the poor and those who can afford to eat nutritious?
I would like to hope to. I mean, when the pantries first started, it was just an emergency. You would, and some of the smaller pantries still do, where you'd have 3 meals a day for 3 days, and it would be canned goods, and you would go get it if you didn't have any food in the house. And now it's becoming more of just sustaining some of the families. So I think that the steps we take nutritionally, I think it helps. But it's also a balance, too, because it's Christmas, and you think of the holidays, and you think of candy cane, and you think of sweets, and so
much more
how
is
do you?
needed.
I know.
Exactly.
So it's a balance, and I think we try to strike that balance.
And speaking of the holidays, you were just mentioning we need to make sure that we emphasize in here that it's not just the holidays
It is not.
when you guys are in need. If you want to address that briefly, it is all year round, correct?
Right. It is. I mean, we find it in the summertime. I mean, when the kids are home from school, I mean, the demand for some type of assistance in a home for food goes up. In summertime, too. I mean, we have the school lunch, the breakfast programs and the lunch programs. But I think it's very stressful for families who are on limited incomes and their kids are home. And if you have teenagers, they could, they'll suck the food right out of your house. So it's all year round. It is. So we just want people to be aware, and then that's one of our issues, is to be aware that it's not just seasonal. It's 12 months a year that both the food bank and the food consortium, work to make people aware that it is an issue.
Beth, why don't you run down for us, if you can, the kind of things that the pantries are looking for?
Well, first and foremost, they can always use volunteer help. They can always use financial donations because they also, too, have to keep the lights on, have to keep the refrigerators plugged in, and keep their places warm. And they can also, if you want to donate food, anything that you can really have that they can use, things like pasta, peanut butter, corn, fruits and vegetables, basically anything really that you eat in your home. They're serving families just like you. So anything that you have that's extra.
And where can they go to get more information, on the food bank or to donate?
They can come to our website. You can go visit the IFC's website, and as well as you can call us if you're interested in finding out more about the pantry that's closest to you. And we can set you up directly with a relationship with them.
All right, Beth, Michelle, thank you very much. We could go on for hours about these topics, so thank you very much. We are out of time, though, so that'll do it for tonight. If you need help this holiday season or any time year-round, you can visit the Food Bank's website at www.foodbankcny.org or call them at 315-437-1899. You can also visit the Interreligious Food Consortium of Central New York at ifccny.org or call them at 315-474-8855. We'd like to thank our guests, Beth Slater and Michelle Jordan. Thank you very much. Please keep the conversation going on our blog, www.centralissues.org, and answer our question of the day: how has a food pantry helped you or someone you know this year? Tomorrow on Central Issues, it's our weekly media roundtable where we take a look at the top stories of the week and maybe a few that you missed. Thank you for watching. I'm Dave Delachase.
This program is brought to you